Aloha! You are listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 156. This episode is sponsored by Tandawai Rum, the world's largest rum producer and winner of over 170 international medals in the past 4 decades. Check out their webpage at tandawaiusa.com or follow them on Facebook or Instagram at tandawaiusa. On this episode, we celebrate 20 years of Tiki Central. Join us at the Tonga Hut in North Hollwood, California, and listen in on the festivities along with stories by Tiki Central members new and old, all followed by an exclusive chat with Tiki Central founder Hanford Lemoore. As always, I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did bringing it to you. If you enjoy this podcast, please give us a good rating. Doing so helps people find the show and boosts our presence. Also, subscribing makes it easier for you to follow our adventures, and subscribers always get new releases first. You can find previous episodes at our website, desertoasisroom.com, as well as links to our social media, along with links to our guests' websites and their social media. And if you'd like to leave us a tip, click on the tip jar. Alrighty, let's get into this. Here we go, Tiki Central and Hanford Lemoore.
Inside the Desert Oasis Room.
Okay, we are at the Tonga Hut for the 20th anniversary Tiki Central party. And I thought we would start with Spencer Knott.
Okay, yes.
And Todd Deaver.
Hey.
And these two guys are responsible basically for putting this whole thing together. So thank you guys for doing this. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, man, it's nice to finally make it on the podcast.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
and that's very nice. There actually was quite a lot of people involved in getting this done, including yourself.
This is so gracious of you. to say
including
that,
yourself.
Spencer. Thank you. I had minimal involvement, but I want to make sure that everybody that's enjoying this party today recognizes the efforts that you guys put in here, from coordination to artwork to the software that we are using right now. We're actually looking at a monitor from here in the Tonga Hut that's got, I don't know how many sites we've got up there, 7 or 8?
I think we've got 5 different locations, but we've got about 20 feeds right now.
So 20.
So people
crazy.
jumping on their phones.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
I love
Yeah,
that.
no, it's really great. It's come together really nicely, yeah.
So cool. So
Yeah.
cool. So let's talk about Tiki Central and how it influenced you guys. So, Tiki Central, I mean, it's crazy that it goes back 20 years, right? 20 years.
Absolutely. It's
yeah.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. And, over the years, there's been so many outside influences to change the way that information is disseminated, from social media to, people's individual websites, blogs, vlogs, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. But Tiki Central has stood firm and still remains.
Well, it's funny for me. I found Tiki Central. I'm late to the game. I'm a relative newbie. I forget what my
Okay.
status is on Tiki Central nowadays. Anyway, but it's like when you're looking for real tiki stuff and you do a Google search, of course Tiki Central is what comes up.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into it.
What drove you to Tiki Central in the first place? What were you looking for? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I've looked for stuff about old tiki bars. I do pins for a lot of old tiki bars. And such great photos and artwork and doing my home tiki bar. I'm starting on the home tiki bar.
Right,
You get all the great
right.
info there. I mean, you find it on Facebook and stuff too, but really when you look into Tiki Central, man, you find the good shit.
It's a great repository for historical information. The thing about Tiki Central is you can search in one place for anything historic regarding the tiki, exotica, cocktails, that whole kind of world.
where, like on social media, it's kind of hard to find all that stuff, right? Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, it was all about the history. I'm a big history fan, so there's a ton of information in the of stuff that people put in that is just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so you can find recipes, past events, all kinds of stuff. It's quite amazing what's in there, and the history keeps building. It's not like it's all in the past.
Right.
It keeps on going.
Right. So, Spencer, what brought you to Tiki Central? Was there anything specific?
Well, I got to give a shout out to Tiki Oasis, actually. That's kind of my whole entry into... I kind of always been interested in Tiki, but that was really diving into the larger community. And I kind of really enjoy all the room parties and the drinks, of course, because we got a great reverb crash right here. But everybody told me you got to go on Tiki Central. That's where everything is. And so that's where I found out where all the room parties are, all the details of what's going on. Because there's so much going on at Tiki Oasis, it's hard to find all that info.
Right. So we are enjoying Reverb Crash. As you mentioned, the Reverb Crash. This drink is the first... It's the winner of the first annual... I don't know if it was annual, but it's the winner of the first Tiki Central drink contest.
Oh, I did not know that.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the reason why this drink is being served at all these other bars.
How appropriate.
And, this was created 2002, I think, so that's 18 years ago now?
I think 2003.
2003,
I think
okay.
2003 was
2003.
the official drink competition.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at is that at the time that this drink was created, some of the rums that it was developed with don't exist anymore. And I know that over the years it's changed, that the recipes had to be modified. And shout out to Ron Masesco. His Tiki Central name is Kick the Reverb, and he's the guy who created this cocktail, it's a perfect balance of tart and spirit, and I love the mint, that you can smell the mint when you drink it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So Kick the Reverb. I'm going to put him on the spot right now because Kick the Reverb is the guy who wrote the theme song to Inside the Desert Oasis Room.
Oh, nice.
All right.
I didn't know
He's the
that.
guitarist for the Sand Devils. And prior to the Sand Devils, he was in the Astroglides, and now he's actually in the Scimitars out of San Diego. So I want to give him a shout-out. He's a really good friend of mine. And do you know why he's called Kick the Reverb?
I would love to know.
Yeah.
Because he's a surf guitarist, and they use a reverb.
They spring reverb.
Yeah.
And, in their music, and at the end of some of his songs, he kicks it.
Right
and
on,
it makes that kind of, that
explosion.
vibrato, that sound, right? So, and what I'm actually trying to do is segue into something that I find really interesting with some of the people that are on Tiki Central is their Tiki Central name.
Nice.
Do you guys have interesting Tiki Central names?
Well, mine's Pintiki, so that's my thing. So that's really not that interesting, other than
So
hey,
we know
man.
what that is.
Yeah,
right,
you know what that is.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Spencer?
And mine's Pineapple Whip. It's really not that interesting either. It's just that I am literally there at Disneyland having a pineapple whip once a week. So I love the stuff. And
That's your favorite drink, would you say?
Favorite concoction, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So mine is Polynesian Pop, and the reason why I chose that name, it wasn't the name that when I originally created a profile on Tiki Central, which was way back in the Yahoo Club days. I basically just used my name, my real name, but I changed it, I think, like a month later because it was stupid boring. And Polynesian Pop is an ode to this genre that we are celebrating, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you have the pop era, and this is called the Polynesian Pop era, right? It's the subculture of Polynesian bars and restaurants and dry cleaners and movie theaters and gas stations, all the stuff that was Polynesian themed, right? And if you trace it back to the very beginning, it traces back to Don the Beachcomber, December 5th, 1933, the very first Polynesian themed bar to open the day after Prohibition, which was Repeal Day.
Yeah.
And his 4 bartenders, they called them the 4 Filipinos. And So in the early days, you had the Filipino bartenders, and you had the Filipino carvers, and all the servers were Filipino. And if you trace that through tiki history, the Mai Kai, for example, their drink program was by Mariano Liquidini. He was
Absolutely.
a Filipino bartender. Tony Ramos, Ray Buon, who started the Tiki Tea. He was also at the China Trader, the Luau, Seven Seas. There's a rich history of Filipino immigrants in the Polynesian pop era.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of my way of, I don't know if you'd call it like a tribute. I don't want to say ownership, but I'm proud of that, right? I'm proud that it was, I'm from the Philippines. I'm a Filipino immigrant, and the immigrants that came before me, that they created this thing that we all celebrate and love, and it just makes me super proud. So.
Absolutely, really shaped the history of the bars and the drinks.
So so that's where the name, my name came from. It's a little bit of a long answer, but there you go, right? So, in any case, I am glad that we are celebrating this 20. I actually never expected Tiki Central to be around this long, and thankfully Hanford considers it important to save this database and to keep it online, because if that site ever went away, all the information would go away with it. Right?
Well, I got to tell you, I got involved in this whole thing through Spencer. He was nice enough to hit me up and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this thing. Would you like to make a pin for it? And, of course, I was just like, hey, man, I'm down for it. Tiki Central is, I would be honored to do something for Tiki Central.
It ended up being a really great collaboration.
Yeah.
All the animation, he did, and on top of all kinds of other artwork and everything. So it's actually been a lot of people really kind of contributing, and a shout out to Cosmo Reverb, who did the umbrellas, and Eric October, who did a lot of the artwork.
October did some of the artwork.
Hamo, who really kind of started the entire idea. I mean, I got to say, I want to throw a lot of props out to a lot of people, like I say, because
let's give them their due. As
a newbie,
give them their shout out.
I had actually no idea that the anniversary was this year, and when Hamo said, hey, this is the anniversary, shouldn't we do something? I thought, well, this is really fortuitous. I mean, you've got 20th anniversary of Tiki Oasis, 20th anniversary of Tiki Central. We should be celebrating. Let's do something. And everybody just started piling in with ideas. So, it was great. It was a really good collaboration, I think, of a lot of really different people all coming together. And I think that kind of speaks to the power of Tiki Central.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And really, this really was a group collaboration, even from the design of the pin that I did, put it out there to the group. People gave their ideas and suggestions, and, working with all the other merch that we produced for this thing. It really was like a collaboration between a bunch of guys, and that really kind of shows you the Tiki Central,
So Spencer was telling us before we started recording about the animation that has the Morse code. Can we talk about that?
Oh yeah, I just that's my real job is doing animation and motion graphics and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I got to do something for Tiki Central. So really, the animation is kind of like the you're taking in the signals from all over the place, and one of those is the Morse code, which actually, if you know your Morse code, you'll realize it's saying Tiki Central Party.
Awesome.
So hidden in there
creative.
Is Morse
That's
code that
awesome.
says Tiki Central Party.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and it just was fun to try to put something together to show like the different bars from across the globe coming together.
Yeah, so cool. So right now I'm viewing, it looks like Frankie's Tiki Room in Las Vegas. They've got a band and what looks like a burlesque dancer up there.
It looks like it.
I think it's Franks and Dean, so I think we can probably shout out to them. It was great
give them a shout out, Franks and Deans.
Yeah, that they scheduled the band play and gives us all some time to come over and talk with you.
I love that. I just wish that dancer was over here.
Yeah.
Well, we can certainly ask to get closer to the camera.
Right. Well, I love what you guys are doing here today. I think it's cool that so many people are connected, And I just want to say thanks for organizing this. And I hope that in the future we can collaborate on something. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that'd be
Let's
awesome.
do something fun.
And
Dude,
I want to thank
Adrian,
you.
you were definitely one of the guys who got me into the whole Tiki Ohana. So
I will
I'm
second
happy
that.
to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know.
Yeah, and I just met Spencer. Believe it or not, I just met Spencer a couple hours ago.
Oh, okay.
So it's all been through email and other things that we've communicated. But so it's a total pleasure to meet you, Spencer. So
It's a pleasure to meet
hope
you
that
as
we do
well.
something again in the future. So, but until then, cheers.
All right.
Cheers to Tiki Central.
Cheers.
To you
Tiki
guys.
Central.
And I'm going to enjoy this reverb crash.
Okay.
All right,
let's
cheers,
party.
guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before we go into our next segment, I'd like to mention we have a new Tiki mug out for 2020. This mug is based on the old vintage monkey pod souvenirs that were carved in the Philippines and sold all over Hawaii in the 60s and 70s. Pre-orders are open now, and they're selling pretty fast. So if you want one, go to desertoasisroom.com to get yours today before they're all sold out. Once again, that's desertoasisroom.com.
Okay, we are back. And we are with my friends Vincent and Cattell. Aloha.
Aloha.
I have an interesting story that I want to share with everybody that's directly related to Tiki Central. And it was how I met these two wonderful people. So should I tell this story or should I have you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to tell this story. So, and chime in whenever you want. So, my daughter, Sydney, was celebrating a birthday party. She was turning 1. And I threw this big tiki party for her where I had King Kukulele as a host. Or he was actually like an MC, I should say. And I had the Maikai Gents. They were playing. And the Smokin' Menehunis were playing. And I posted it on Tiki Central. And I made a flyer, right? Made a flyer for it so people know about it. Everyone was invited. And Vincent and Cattell showed up to this party because they were vacationing from France. And at the time, you were living in France.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they were vacationing from France. And they showed up to this party thinking that it was a big Tiki event. Right?
Kind of, yeah.
And I thought that was kind of neat. So we've since become very good friends, and they have since moved to California.
Yeah.
Correct?
Because of that, yeah.
Oh, was it because of that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
it was one of the things that make it move here. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
And you
The
met, I
friendship
think
of
you
the-
met a lot of people there, right?
yeah. That's
So you
right.
you know a lot of people now because of that Tiki
Because
Central
of the
post.
party,
Yeah.
And then we kept going to different events, and
Yeah.
And we met so many wonderful people that we wanted to
that-
live here.
Yeah, that's neat. And that's the thing about Tiki Central is that it reaches all over the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
so
that's right, yeah.
anywhere you are, if you log into tikicentral.com, you're going to be able to see the posts there. And as long as you understand English, you can read what's happening, right?
Yes.
Right? So tell me, what was your Tiki Central name?
Tiki Frog.
Tiki Frog. Can you tell me the name, the meaning behind the name?
Well, just that the froggies, the French people.
Oh, okay.
So we thought Tiki Frog sounds.
I didn't know.
Frenchy
Is that what they call French people or frog? They call them froggies?
Yeah, froggies.
In England,
we
I
eat.
think. Yeah. In England, they call
Yeah.
French people frogs.
Why do they call them French people frogs?
Because we eat frogs.
frogs.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. But you only eat the legs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only the
Oh,
legs.
I like frog legs.
Yeah.
It's like
good.
chicken.
It's like chicken.
Yeah.
It just if you
Like-
didn't tell me,
Refined chicken.
if you didn't tell me that it was frog legs, I would think it's chicken. Yeah. Do you get frog legs here? In
No, it's hard to
California?
find here.
Yeah, it's hard to find here.
Yeah.
Do you make it? Did you make it when you were in France?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
And you just catch the frogs yourself, or
No.
you just buy it from the market?
No, we went to the supermarket.
No, but what about escargot?
Oh yes, we do. We make them here.
But do you buy that at the market too?
Yeah.
You don't just go get
cans.
You don't just go get snails.
Buy them in cans.
I don't know. I'm American, so okay. So
some French people just harvest them.
They harvest them. Yeah.
But we didn't.
Do you have to use a special snail for that?
I think so, but just eat them.
But you make it here. You make
Yeah, you can find them.
You
here.
can find them here.
You can find it here. Well, I've had it before, and it tastes fine. The only thing that the thing I didn't enjoy was the texture was a little bit tastes like
rubbish,
like rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit tough.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Sometimes they are very rubbery. Sometimes they are very tender, but it really depends.
But you make it. You make it at home.
No.
You just go to a restaurant.
No, we bought them online.
Oh, you buy it online.
Yeah.
Okay. But you cook it at home. Because I wanna try it with you. You make it for me. And the frog legs
You're invited.
too. Well, do you know any French restaurant where we can get frog legs and escargot?
Actually, no.
No.
How about Tex? Is it Tex or Thai? Is it pronounced? Well, how do you pronounce that? Taix.
Tex is the one in
Tex,
where King Kukulele used to
yes.
have his thing. Yeah,
They might have it. Yeah, that's possible.
How does the food there compare to authentic French food?
Honestly, I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Oh, because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It was fine.
Yeah. Well, I want to go and have some food with you because you're one of my early Tiki Central friends.
We still have the mug from us.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, very
the
nice.
pink tiki mug.
Which one do you have? There's 4 different kinds.
It's a pink one.
Okay.
There is
So-
Sydney's name.
Sydney,
Yeah.
first year.
I have,
Yeah.
if you don't have the other ones, there's 4 different kinds. I have extras if you want some of the other ones.
Oh, wow.
So you get
Yeah.
the complete set.
Oh,
Okay.
that would be
All right.
nice.
Okay, well, I just wanted to tell our story because I thought it was interesting. I met people from France who came to Sydney's birthday because of Tiki Central.
And then moved
And then
here
moved
because
to
they
America.
were inspired. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big part of our story,
We were
Yeah.
there's so many nice people.
Yeah,
we
I
have
love
to
that.
move there. We have
I
to
love
live
that.
there.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I hope you're enjoying your move here
We
now.
do.
I mean, I'm sure it's hard to leave friends and family.
Yeah,
It is, yes. But it's
worth
fun
it.
to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks.
Okay, cheers. This episode was brought to you in part by the Tiki Tea, a family-owned and operated tropical drink bar in Los Angeles, California. Come get their house specialty, the Ray's Mistake, for only $6 on Wednesdays until 9 p.m. For more information, check out their website, tiki-ti.com. This episode was also brought to you by Steadfast Pomade, a strong-holding, medium-bodied styling product for men and women which leaves your hair looking neat and shiny with a clean, fresh scent. Order yours today at steadfastpomade.com. I've got the feeling. And we're now joined by our friend Angelica Navarro of Adventures in Tiki. Oh,
Hey
wait.
there.
Can I say Adventures in Tiki? Does that change?
It did change, actually. I decided to start a new blog called Resident Modernist, which also includes a lot of tiki, but then also brings in a lot of tiki-adjacent things, mid-century modern, historical, points of interest, travels, etc. So there's a wider variety of content that I can expand on, which I will be doing in the near future.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool.
Wow, listen to that.
Yeah.
So, we were speaking earlier about Tiki Central.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently you were a lurker.
Yes.
But did you have a profile on Tiki Central?
Yes, it was under the name Jellyfish,
Jellyfish, of course.
with a G, not a J.
Okay, all right.
And I really at that point was still feeling A little nervous about kind of putting myself out there. I was still learning a lot about Tiki when I discovered Tiki Central, and I preferred to kind of look at the different threads and see what people were talking about. It was an amazing repository of information for me when I was learning about where to go, places to see, things to try. So, yeah.
How much of Tiki Central influenced your blog? Would you say that some of the information that you gathered from Tiki Central kind of helped you with topics or maybe research?
A little bit, yes, in a not maybe so much in a direct way, more of an indirect way. Tiki Central's biggest impact on me was when I was researching about Tiki shortly after visiting Trader Vic's for the first time when it was still in Dallas in the late 2000s. That was kind of where I started with it. I did use it a lot to discover points of interest. That was probably what I used it for the most. And then it's also been a great source of information with respect to like historical things, learning about things like Whitco, learning about carvers of the past. Because I always thought the tiki that was in front of Trader Vic's in Dallas many years ago was really cool. I'm like, who carved that? And then, of course, from Tiki Central you find out, and it was Barney West.
Barney West, yeah. So if you may not have noticed, you probably know it. I think you saw when... So I am Atomic Kitty. Wait, what does it say?
Was that actually your handle?
Atomic Kitty. No, it was Polynesian Pop. It still is Polynesian Pop.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, why are you wearing Atomic Kitty, man?
Because we traded badges.
Ah, well done.
So I thought it would be funny if a brown, male, black-haired Filipino guy traded badges with a white, blonde American female. And so people are going to look at her and say, "You're Polynesian Pop." They would. Everybody knows our names by now, but
No, you know what? Funny. Go trade badges with Laura Harper. Hers is Tiki Cutie.
Oh, that would be perfect.
I don't know if I could fit that mold, but
for what it's worth, I don't think you're a bad Atomic Kitty.
Oh, thanks. I can be, though, if you want me to.
Ooh.
So what are you drinking, Angelica?
My lovely friend Gina decided to buy me a glass of Deadhead chocolate.
Oh, Deadhead chocolate. That's funny. It's what I see is like we're all drinking cocktails and beers and stuff, and you're drinking a shot.
Yeah, well, sipping it.
Yeah. Okay, are they doing a toast? Did we miss the toast?
Yeah,
looks
toasting.
like somebody's doing a toast.
To someone.
All right. I guess we missed that.
I think it just turned 5 o'clock.
Story of my life, man.
Hey.
I'm always late to the party.
That's okay.
Hey, you're at the party, though.
The day is young. You'll probably hear at least another one of these.
I know, right?
In the next hour.
So this is the first bar of the day. What are we at, all right? I've been here since 1:30, 1:15. It's 5:17, so I've been here for 4 hours. So I'm checking my phone for the time, and I've got a bunch of texts that let me check here.
Blowing up.
So
where are we heading next?
Hanford Lemoore just texted me. That's me at Frankie's on cam. I knew that.
Yeah. Well, it was actually really cool. I was just checking my phone. They had me on the camera with the guy from Voodoo Shanty. And I was like, dude, I've never been there, but I really want to go. And then he hit me up on Instagram just now, and he was like, hey, was that you? Like, and I've never talked to him before in reality. So I'm like, damn, I really got to get to London now. Check it out. Shout out to Voodoo Shanty.
Wait,
all right.
Voodoo Shanty, is he in London?
He's in London.
I always thought that he was like, so I met him at the Hukilau.
Right. I might be wrong, but that's what the Tiki Central folks told me.
Oh, okay.
All I know is that he showed up on my Instagram. I was like, man, this looks like a cool bar. I got to check it out at some point.
Wait, it's
and so I just friended him.
Voodoo Shanty
no, he's
on
in
Instagram.
So he's
Voodoo
in the
Shanty.
UK.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I met him at Hukilau. He had this shrunken head, like a voodoo shrunken head dealio hanging from his neck. and it was actually him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, his wife had it made or something, and it was him as a shrunken head.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I want one now.
So I got to get one.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we got to find out where we get those.
Voodoo Shanty, tell us where to get one.
Now, so I'm going to age myself when I say this, but when I was a kid, they used to have these things that you could make out of apples. It was a kit that you'd buy, and you'd take an apple, and you'd bake it, and it would make it a shrunken head.
That is so
What?
cool.
Yeah. So I guess I'm too old for you guys to...
I mean, or you just had cooler parents. I don't know.
Someone...
I was
No,
gonna
it was on
say,
TV.
Wow.
There was commercials for it.
I grew up with no television, so you're definitely cooler.
And I don't remember seeing any of those commercials when I was growing up. So
Well, I'm probably decades older than you, so...
You look the same age as us.
I
nice
don't
of you to say.
know.
I'm in my
Actually,
50s.
younger than me.
You're what?
I'm in my 50s.
Wow.
You have no
Oh,
wrinkles.
thank you for that.
Wait, what? I'm
This man
sorry.
has no wrinkles, no white hair.
I was born in the 60s.
He's putting me into shame.
Dude, you have like no gray hair.
I have gray hair right here on my chin. So, yeah, so...
The Asian genes have been very kind to him.
These commercials played in the 70s. So, but neither of you were probably alive then, right?
No.
Yeah, okay, that... Yeah, I wasn't born until 81.
Wow.
I was 82.
Wow, you guys are young. Wow.
Yes, youngins.
I started high school in 82.
We're the next generation. We're
Oh,
gonna,
seriously?
We're going to
I
carry
started
the
high school in
torch,
82.
the Tiki
Yeah,
torch.
yeah. Wow. Well, thanks you guys for being on the podcast.
Always a pleasure, man.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Thank you so much.
And happy anniversary.
Hey,
Cheers.
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Tiki
Cheers,
Central.
cheers.
Cheers.
Hello.
Hey, Hanford.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Aloha.
Aloha.
Happy anniversary to you.
Oh, thanks. And likewise. I posted a little message on Tiki Central today,
Oh, I have to go check that out.
like an hour ago or something. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Hey, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, cool. Yeah. My pleasure.
Appreciate
Thanks
it so
for
much.
inviting me.
So how are you feeling today after the 20th anniversary party?
I'm actually feeling really good. It actually touched me. I didn't really know. I wasn't part of the planning of the parties, and I didn't really hear about it until a few days ago. And even after I heard about it, I didn't quite know what the scale of it was going to be. But when I actually went out to Frankie's Tiki Room, and they had the sign there, the sign said Tiki Central anniversary. And I got in there. It's in the middle of the day, and there's a ton of people in aloha wear, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy! This is
right."
People remember Tiki Central. Like I said, I was touched.
Dude, I was in on some of the. Well, I was carbon copied on all the planning stuff, but I didn't really participate as much as some of the other guys did. Like Spencer Knock was really kind of the main guy that heralded the whole thing. And he was super enthusiastic about it. So he had set up this whole camera thing from all the multiple sites. And I thought that was just so cool. That
it was.
You could log in and just kind of, see what everybody was doing from where they were. And I was at the Tonga Hut in Hollywood, and there was a huge crowd there. I saw people that I hadn't seen in years that came out just for the event.
Yeah, I saw it on the feed, and I saw a bunch of old timers there, and I was it blew me away, and I was kind of like, wow, that was the place to be. It looks fun.
It was fun. Well, so we were jealous about where you guys were because you had a band and you had that go-go dancer that took her clothes off and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So we're like, oh hey, how come they're not playing over here? And it was neat to see
it was fun. I got a seat, and I was there with Mr. Smiley, which is an old Tiki Central member, and Inky Louise. And that was really special for me because I don't know if you remember, but they met on Tiki Central, and they actually got married. And they were the first people to have a wedding at the Neon Graveyard in Las Vegas, which now offers that as a package. But, I thought that was a really special way to celebrate Tiki Central with two of my old friends who actually met through the site and got married. And,
I met all of you guys through the site, and actually I think I met them the same night that, I know at least I met Mr. Smiley the same night that I met you, if I recall correctly, which was at the Tonga Room in San Francisco.
Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I met a ton of people. One of the things that I'm a little frustrated at is that, like, running Tiki Central, and I went to a lot of events, and I always met a lot of people, and a lot of those events from long ago kind of all blur together, like those nights.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But when your name comes up, you're a bit of a rock star because of that. So, and I'm sure you already know that, which is
it's both. It was both super flattering and also super nerve-wracking in some ways.
Sure, I can imagine.
But going to events, especially big ones, I would always get super nervous right beforehand because I knew people were going to be coming up to me.
Yeah.
And even if I had met them before, chances are, unless we had a really strong conversation, I wouldn't remember them and stuff like that. So there was always that pro and con. What a tough problem to have, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
But that always made me feel really good. But at the same time, I just kind of feel like I ran the site, but it was really just all the members who populated it that really made Tiki Central what it was. So.
Yeah. And it really is that way because it has its own. I mean, it lives through the members, and it has a personality that ebbs and flows because of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about a few things about Tiki Central. There's a little bit of knowledge about how it got started, but I think that there's a little bit of mystery too. And I thought it would be neat to talk about that, about, the how, where, and when of how it all got started. I know that when I joined Tiki Central, it was still a Yahoo Club. There wasn't really a lot of people on there. I think I was member number 9 or something like that, And I remember every time there would be a new member that would join, we would be excited because there would be another person that we could talk to.
Yeah.
And back in those days, I think it was a girl named Jen who was running it.
Yeah, Jennifer Thompson and I kind of started it together. She was really kind of the impetus, though. And I mentioned this a little bit on my post on Tiki Central, but I met her through Yahoo Instant Messenger, which, for the youngins out there, that was like a messaging app like texting, except for it was like on your computer instead of on your phone. And they had a little profile section, and you could search for keywords or whatever. It was kind of like a really, really simple version of a social media site, like back before those existed.
Right.
So I had put Tiki in my bio, and I can't remember either she found me or I found her, but she had Tiki in her bio too, and we started chatting about it. And we would chat online about Tiki, and we didn't know much, but we knew that it was something we were interested in.
Right.
And so one day she messaged me and she said, we should start a Tiki club. And honestly, that sounded really goofy to me. I was like, a Tiki club? What's that? She's like, well, Yahoo has these things called clubs. And we could start one about Tiki. And I was like, okay. We had a little discussion there about what it should be called. She wanted to call it Tiki Central. I wanted it to be a more interesting name. Like I thought, you could stick the word Central after any word and get a name like Hot Rod Central or whatever. Right. And I suggested Con Tiki, and so she Googled it. She Yahooed it. It was in Yahoo, right? Google didn't exist. She put it in, and there was already a club called Con Tiki on Yahoo Clubs, and it was like a really promiscuous gay sex club with a lot of not safe for work imagery.
Oh,
and
that's
so
interesting.
That came up. I was like, well, I guess we can't call it Con Tiki. So we called it, I was like, you win, Tiki Central. You can call it Tiki Central.
Yeah.
So yeah, she started it, and she added me as a moderator on there, and her and I were kind of the two people who kind of ran it early on, but she really was the one who thought it was a good idea and wanted to like I said, I thought it was goofy at first. I was like, a club. but she was really the one who, promoted it and emailed people and asked them to join. And of course, it showed up in Yahoo's search listing. So, yeah, she was really responsible for the growth of it early on.
In the early days, there was nothing about Tiki on the internet. And
yeah, correct.
That's how I found Tiki Central. Was I was on Yahoo and I would search for Tiki, and there was, I think, only Bosco had a website, and Baby Doe had like a little website too. Yeah, and I think
there
that
was the search for the ultimate Mai Tai. That was
okay.
Kevin, I believe his name was
Kevin Crossman. Yeah. So
yeah, and I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too.
But there were no images. Like, remember, there weren't really digital cameras, so to get a photo online, and your bandwidth was limited, right? So even when there was information of Tiki out there, there wasn't photos or anything. It was really hard to find out anything about it. Correct.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned the photo thing, because I think that was part of the issue when clubs became groups. The whole format changed, and everyone was complaining about groups, and I think it had something to do with not just the format change, but the way it hosted pictures or something of that effect. And I remember you saying, well, I could break this off onto a website and we could just do our own forum there. And TikiCentral.com was born. And, back then, everything was still mostly film cameras. I had like a really expensive digital camera that I paid, I think, $700 for, that only took photos in 640 by 480. And it was still like, so revolutionary that everyone was still kind of taking pictures with film. So, we'd have to take pictures, have them developed, scan them, and then get them online. And, it was...
And another thing that we're forgetting too, because we're so used to it now, is that, unless you really know what you were doing, you used a flash, and it looked like shit.
Right.
And I kind of remember in 2008 or 9, I got one of the first low light level point and shoots. And I was so excited to be able to finally go to a tiki bar and actually take actual good photos without a tripod and not having to use my flash. That was pretty exciting.
So, along that line, it's really interesting to see a lot of these old bars, even in the way that they were, because, before, you had a camera that you only had maybe, if you bought the extra shots, you had 36 shots, but typically it was a 24 exposure roll of film. And if you went back into the 50s and 60s, some of those rolls of film were only like 12 exposures. And so people didn't really just take pictures of the restaurant or the bars that they were at. They took pictures of themselves, because we didn't have the luxury of smartphones today where you can take as many pictures as you like,
Right.
And so along that line, Tiki Central, it became this awesome repository for all those old pictures, because as people found things, through postcards or maybe old family photos, maybe somebody's like thrifting photos or slides like Charles Phoenix was doing and finding old Tiki photos, it all ended up on Tiki Central.
Yeah. And that was like super exciting for me. I remember Sven joining. I think he joined right around the time the Book of Tiki came out. He either joined right before it came out or right after. But I remember getting my copy of Book of Tiki and just being blown away just by how much imagery he could collect.
Right.
He had collected. But yeah, that was kind of like, that was the beginning of, and like I said, that's kind of what drove my curiosity about Tiki. Is I knew about Tiki and Tiki bars, but I didn't really, it was a mystery, and I kind of wanted to uncover that mystery because there just wasn't anything out there.
So, what's crazy is we have so much information today, but it was all a learning phase for us back then. So, it was kind of a perfect storm of things happening, right? Tiki Central started right when the internet was becoming like a daily thing for all of us, right? Where we were starting to use the internet regularly. And the Book of Tiki, like you said,
It kind of came out somewhere around that same time. And we were all learning along with the release of the Book of Tiki, and then people discovering more things, and Tiki Central became this awesome repository and this database.
Yeah.
And it's going to grow over the years, you know. Today, it's a little bit different. I mean, you know, now there's social media where people are posting a lot of things, and it kind of sucks that it's not all centralized the way that it was on Tiki Central.
Yeah, in some ways I understand that, but I also kind of think that it's changed a lot, and I think with the number of events, a number of new bars being open, and just the sheer amount of it, it doesn't surprise me that one website can't hold it all anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I kind of feel like in an interesting way, Tiki Central, like, that shows that it was a success, that it used to be like, it's kind of like the idea of thinking of like, oh, there should only be one hot rod car website.
Okay.
Of course not. There's going to be hundreds of hot rod car websites. And like, at the time, Tiki was new and we didn't know a lot, but now it's very different. Like, everyone knows what a Tiki bar is today. Like, you know, like even people who aren't into Tiki know what a Tiki bar is because they're popular again, you know.
Sure.
They've sprung up. It does suck in some way that we don't have a central repository, but at the same time, I kind of understand why it grew beyond Tiki Central.
Okay, it makes sense. How much of Tiki Central would you say influenced the growth of Tiki today? I think it had a major role.
I think it did too. I mean, I think, and specifically about getting those people together, it provided a place where people who didn't know each other could come together and both share their knowledge and learn from others. And I think it connected a lot of people together who otherwise wouldn't have met.
Right.
And it really helped foster those connections that, you know, led to, you know, everything we have now: new bars being opened, cocktail recipes being shared, carving, like all, you know, music.
So the thing that Tiki Central actually really started to emphasize for me was how complex the Tiki subculture was. So take us through what it was like to moderate that site, because, you know, there's so many sections, and this is what I mean about how complex it is. There's Tiki music, there's Tiki events, there's Tiki carving, there's home Tiki bars, there's, I mean, like, there is a general topic or general area, but there's just so much to Tiki that it's almost like whatever you're talking about fits into a specific category. So what was that like? And I know that, like, over the years, I see how you would add all of these different subsections because, you know, it's just a way to try to organize the site, right? So talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I always had a philosophy that we don't add things just to add them. We add them when they're needed. And one interesting thing when we moved from the Yahoo Club, or it was Yahoo Group at the time, to the web forum was on Yahoo, there was no threading of messages. You could post a reply and you could read messages, but they were all in one giant long list.
Right.
And that made it very, very hard to keep a topic alive.
Right.
You know, once it got bumped off of, you know, the first page onto the second page, it was as good as dead. And like, replying to it wouldn't take the originals and move them up. So we were very, very limited there. And then when we moved to the web forum on tikiroom.com, I started with one forum to begin with. And then quickly I saw, like, within the first 6 months, I realized how the old format on Yahoo Groups had been limiting the discussions. And soon we started to see these different sections evolve. And you know, my interest in Tiki was primarily about vintage Tiki bars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never been really a collector. I've never wanted to have a home bar. that kind of thing. But so that's kind of what my mentality is when Jennifer and I kind of started Tiki Central. That's kind of where my brain was. So I started to see all these other aspects like grow.
Right.
And to me, it was just exciting because I would not start a subsection unless we really felt we needed it.
Right.
I didn't want a million empty closets, you know?
There was one, I would call it a catastrophic failure, and it wasn't Tiki Central, but we were affected by it very much when Shutterfly changed the way that they hosted photos. And that must have been a nightmare for you, because now it went from people posting links to photos so that we could basically click on the link and see the photo to now you having to host the photos.
Yeah.
And how did that affect you? Because now you're having to are you buying storage now on servers or how did you do that?
I moved. I wrote that functionality myself and added it to the web form software we're using. And I did that because of exactly what was happening with Shutterfly changing the way their URLs worked. And apparently it was because of MySpace. People were linking Shutterfly images on MySpace and not using Shutterfly to buy photos, but instead just using it as a place to host photos.
Right.
And Shutterfly's bandwidth was going crazy, so they changed their URL. But that was something that, like, there are a lot of people who have worried about whether or not Tiki Central is going to disappear, and we can talk more about that later. But the idea that we host it ourselves means at least the onus is on me to keep it running and not have someone else that we don't have control of pull the rug out from under us. There were other image hosts as well. There's a Tiki Central member who had an image gallery. He got rid of it at some point, and so now all those image links are broken as well and everything. So
yeah, that's the only bummer about some of those earlier posts is there's a lot of broken links for the photos. Are you continuing to have to purchase storage?
I think around 2006, 2005, I moved it to a dedicated server.
Okay.
It's actually a dedicated server that Humu also uses as well.
Okay.
And her and I pay the yearly fee every year. And it's expensive, but we haven't had to upgrade it in a while. The storage is really cheap now. And I could probably go in there and actually increase like the maximum resolution of images and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because our cameras are way higher res now than what Tiki Central images are stored as.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we haven't had to, overall storage is cheap, so we haven't had to upgrade it. But we still pay. I pay half the server, and Humu pays for her half.
Okay, well that's awesome that you guys keep it up and running. You did mention about people having
Grand
fears.
memberships do still, basically like we don't make money on it. Like the server,
sure.
Again, we're on a plan that is probably outdated. We could, if we really wanted to hunt around, we could find something cheaper.
Yeah.
But but we'd have to move the entire site, which is crazy.
Right. Right.
So, Grand Central member, Grand membership still offsets some of that cost for me.
Okay, that's good. Now, earlier you mentioned real quick about people being scared that Tiki Central would eventually go offline and all that information would be lost if it did. Have you ever thought about, I don't know how archive.org works. Is there a way to archive that stuff so that if it went down for whatever reason, at least the information is still stored somewhere?
We have redundant backups. So the service that we pay for, the server that we pay for, includes backups. And I believe this could be old information. I haven't looked into this in years, so I might be remembering wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's bi-coastal, so they save some backups on the East Coast and some on the West Coast. And so the idea that that like a fire or something might take it out, chances are low that would happen.
Right.
And then outside of that, really the only real way I could see it like going away is choosing to make it go away. And like I've been offered many times to buy. People have offered to buy Tiki Central off me.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
People are like, "Well, you're not doing anything with it anymore. Sell it to me." I would say no, and because one of the reasons is that, like, when it's in someone else's hands, they can choose to do whatever they want.
Right,
and
right.
Someone might get tired of it. I remember Cool and Strange Music. This was this old.
Yeah, I remember that
magazine you used to be able to get that. And they would review like exotica and lots of weird old records. The guy, Dana Countryman, I believe his name, he sold it to another guy who was going to take it over and run it, and like another issue never came out. Like, this guy bought it, paid all this money for it, and then for whatever reason he couldn't get his act together and release another copy. And so, like, I don't want that to happen with Tiki Central. And so, even though I haven't been as maintaining it, like I haven't been adding new features to it, or like I haven't made an app for it. At the same time, I don't want to sell it, because I don't want anything like that to happen. Well,
do you think that you need to add new features to it? I mean, I think it's at a stage where it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's organized pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I kind of equate it to a tiki bar where like you go and visit it and it's a product of its time.
Yeah. Oh, that's that's good. Yeah.
It looks like a site from the 90s because it kind of is. A site from the 90s.
Sure,
well, I guess the 2000s, but it feels like the 90s.
Okay.
And I kind of like that. Like, again, it's like we hate it when we see old vintage tiki bars. They go in and try to, quote, redo it, and they screw it up in some way.
Right.
I do think that it could use, like, there are a few things I would like to do to it. I wouldn't want to change it or change, like, and this is the cool thing about computers is, like, we could always keep the old interface around.
Right.
But, possibly give it an app that would at least, like, make it easier to upload images or something like that.
Right.
There are possibilities there. It's just that may someday in the future I would do that, but I would never want to screw up.
Yeah.
Or, like, try to make it, be something that it wasn't.
Yeah. So a question that I had for you, and some of these questions came from some of our listeners. What are your thoughts about the impact that it's had globally and its reach? Because of Tiki Central, I have friends from all over the world.
Yeah.
And these are people that I've known before social media. I have friends from Europe and Australia and Canada and South America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what are your thoughts about that? Isn't that kind of like for me, I think that's a pretty damn cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, honestly. Like, again, kind of very humbling. Like, when I started to see what was happening on the site, it excited me, and it was mind blowing for one, and two, it really gave me a sense of responsibility. I'm like, because I've always said I just kind of provide the place, right?
Sure.
I provide this the venue, and then the people show up and make it what it was, and. Just the fact that I was able to do that, like keep this place going, that would connect people together and create this amazing, web of friendships and web of connections. It's mind blowing, really.
Yeah.
And I remember there were so many times, like back when I was going to more events, it was kind of neat that like 1 month I could be in Southern California, and I would see all these friends who I knew, you and others. And then, like a few months later, I'm on the East Coast. I'm at the Hukalau.
Yeah,
and I'm seeing all those same faces again.
Yeah, right.
but also new ones too. And it's like, this is a real, like, we're all choosing to be here. We're all choosing to go to these places and make these connections.
Well,
I thought that was really special.
I agree. I used to travel a lot for work at one time, and I would just post on there, "Hey, I'm going to be in." And, name the city and state on these dates. Is anybody out there that wants to meet up? And I would meet people, complete strangers. They'd come and pick me up from my hotel, take me on tiki bar tours. We'd have drinks. And it was a real community, because by the time that I would meet them, I'd feel like I knew them through our interaction on Tiki Central, you know, and and so I just thought that was a really special thing, and that wasn't even just, you know, nationally, that's internationally, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd go up to Canada, you know, and I'd meet people there.
Yeah, and I think a testament to how amazing that was is that at some point you don't even think about it. Like I said, like I'd go to these events, you know, and I'm thousands of miles from home, and I meet someone who I've never met in real life before, but I've messaged with them, and it's like we're best friends.
Yeah,
and you trust them and you hang out with them, and it doesn't feel weird, and it's like, and we would take it for granted, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really cool, and like the internet has done that on a whole, but I thought it was really fantastic that that happened, even though we were a much broader spectrum than what I originally thought it was going to be. Like I said, like, you know, I'm not huge into carving, but I have friends who are carvers, you know.
Sure.
And like I said, I never had a home bar, but a lot of my friends, that's what they were all about. They were all about home bars, right? But that didn't mean like, oh, I'm going to go to Home Bar Tiki Central, and you're going to go to, you know, some other version of Tiki Central, right? We were all still kind of hanging out together and sharing this thing together.
Yeah. Have you talked to Jen recently? Do you know what she's doing these days?
No, we lost touch. So, you know, like I said, she was kind of the muscle early on, but I was always kind of the more technical one. And we shared, you know, moderating it for a while. And she came out to a couple of the early Tiki Bar crawls that we organized.
Okay.
So I did meet her a few times. But at some point, I had this discussion with her, and she said, you know, she just wasn't really interested in running it anymore. She had gotten like a full-time job and like, and I was like, are you know, like, and she kind of said, you can take it over. And I was really kind of surprised that she wanted to do that. But yeah, and then I lost touch with her. I was just looking for her contact info today, and I couldn't find it.
Oh, interesting. And I also wanted to give a shout out to your buddy. I think his name was Ben, if I remember correctly.
Ben Fuller.
That helped you develop that original forum.
Well, he was a kind of a mentor to me. So when the Yahoo group was having all of its problems, you know, I was computer literate, but I really wasn't a programmer back in those days. I was just learning programming. And Ben was kind of my mentor. He really helped me get that website up and running. And he kind of, you know, answered a billion questions when I was trying to get it up. Cause I was, you know, I was worried I was worried that something was going to happen. And that, you know, everything that we had done on the Yahoo group was going to just fall apart.
Right.
So I kind of felt pressured to do something. And Ben was he was kind of like my computer mentor and really encouraged me to learn programming and whatnot.
That's awesome. Well, I want to make sure
in 2002, I believe.
Right. I knew it was a while ago, and I want to make sure that we mention him so that people know that he was also integral in helping Tiki Central be what it is, you know. So
I also want to mention a few other things, which is I want to mention both the Tiki News, Otto von Stroheim, Tiki News, and Jeff Berry, his Grog Log. I had acquired both of those. I learned about Tiki News and through Otto's, you know, publication, his zine. And that was a huge inspiration. That's how I knew that other people liked Tiki. That's how I knew I should put, you know, Tiki on my Yahoo profile.
Yeah.
And then I also got I might have, I'm sure there's more copies out there, but as far as I know, I have the only copy in existence of the prototype Grog Log.
Oh, really?
The Beach Bum Berry made. Before the actual published one, it was like zine style. It was done like at Kinko's.
Very nice.
And I picked both Tiki Nose Up and that prototype Grog Log at a record store in San Jose. I can't remember where.
Okay.
What its name was, but yeah, those were my early influences, and those were the kind of things that kind of told me that Tiki was out there. I also had found, you know, some Tiki mugs, thrifting, etc. So.
Okay, you know what I've got? I've got a Tiki Central poster that I got from Mig when you guys set up a booth at Tiki Oasis like a million years ago.
That's right. I remember those. In fact, I recently moved and I came across some of those. I actually wasn't at that event. Like, I thought
you
that was
weren't?
really cool.
So it was so long ago. I don't remember who was and wasn't there, but I did help Mig in that booth for a little bit. And
I think it was Meg who represented us out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a couple of. I think he had maybe one or two posters like on the table. And I said, hey, can I take one of these? And he's like, yeah, take them both. So I rolled them up, and it's actually a really nice printed high-res picture of the logo, you know?
Of the logo, right. Yeah. I came across them as well. Like, I saved them when I moved.
Oh, that's so cool. So I should put it up. I mean, like, I have it in a tube because, you know, at that time, I hadn't lived in a house any more than like a year or two. I was moving around all the time, so I could never really get comfortable wherever I was. And so it's still in a tube somewhere, in a box somewhere.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
I have so many. So there was like this kind of like, I think everyone who comes and discovers Tiki or actually any kind of passion they have, that there's kind of like their own personal golden years for them. And it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
It's based on when they enter, but you know, when they first learn about it, etc. But like back then, those are the golden years.
For me too. Yeah.
I was kind of like yesterday at the anniversary party. This came up because I think it's one of the more hilarious things. Was, I don't know if you remember this, but Shasta.
Oh yeah,
the makers of Shasta Cola. They had this vote for your favorite flavor thing on their website, and there was Tiki Punch on there.
Yeah.
And they listed all their flavors, and we started stuffing the ballot box.
Yeah, I remember.
And we voted it up, and then all of a sudden orange. For some reason, the orange flavor started getting voted up too, and so we all just decided that we were going to make sure that orange did not win in any way.
Right.
And that was kind of fun, and we did that. But then we kind of forgot about it. But then like a year later, we started to see Tiki Punch cans in grocery stores.
Right.
And printed on the can was world's favorite flavor. They had actually, I believe they actually brought Tiki Punch back into production because of that.
I agree with you. That's hilarious.
And they actually created 2 new flavors. They created like Tiki Punch Orange and Tiki Punch Blue or something like that. And like even the Shasta bottler in Southern California changed their water tower to make it look like Tiki Punch.
Oh, that's hilarious.
All because we stuffed that ballot box and they didn't kind of realize that they had been scammed.
Yeah.
And to me, like when I think about like all the crazy fun times we had on Tiki Central back in the day, bringing an actual soda pop that hadn't been sold in probably 20 years back, and then having multiple flavors of it created.
Right.
That's like one of my favorite funniest memories from that. Mig was a huge part of that. So
yeah, I saw Mig at Tiki Oasis last year. Yeah, so it was neat to see him. You know, and he's one of the old school, you know, and like when you talk about like the golden years, and listen to us, we sound like a couple of old farts talking about the golden years, but you know, those were
a long time.
Yeah, those were the golden years for me too. You know, that was before there was, you know, for lack of a better term, tiki drama. You know,
right? Yeah, for the drama,
it was a honeymoon period for all of us, right? Everybody was just learning tiki together, and we're all just starting to meet each other for the first time, and it was a lot of fun. You know, I remember those nights hitting beach balls with the Tiki Central logo, hundreds of them in the pool.
Backstock made those,
yeah, at Tiki Oasis. I mean, there was all kinds of that kind of fun stuff happening, you know. So,
that's what gave me the best feel, honestly, yesterday at the Las Vegas party was, you know, I didn't see a lot of old timers there. I saw Mr. Smiley and Inky, but I also saw Bamboo Ben and Mrs. Ben. really cool. But then on the webcam, when I saw what was going on at the Tonga Hut, seeing you and seeing all the old timers there, that really warmed my heart. I was like, I almost felt like transported back to those golden years again. I felt very envious, actually.
And truth be told, a lot of those people I hadn't seen in years. So they came out for the Tiki Central party to celebrate Tiki Central, which I thought was really cool.
That's amazing. That just makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
And I hope it made them feel good, too.
Yeah.
Because there were some great memories.
Yeah. So how do you see Tiki Central in the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Well, like I said, I don't want it to go away, and I'm dedicated to keeping it running. So when people get worried that Hanford's not around anymore, I still run it. I still pay for it. I'm fixing the bugs when I can, and I'm trying to keep it, I am keeping it alive. I do kind of, I might have some sort of crazy pipe dream of, like I said, maybe modernizing it a little bit, making it more iPhone friendly or something like that. I have no plans for that. I at this time in my life, I can't really dedicate anything to that. But my goal really is to keep it open, keep that information there, and have it continue kind of what its mission always was, which was to connect people and let them share their knowledge and learn from others. So,
well, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for doing what you do and with Tiki Central and everything else. I mean, it's changed my life. It literally has.
Well, it changed mine too. And I was just a very small part of that, honestly. I ran the site, but I feel like all these amazing people, yourself included, all the early members, we collectively changed each other's life, and I think that's the coolest part of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary.
Likewise, thank you.
I think I'm going to go and make myself should I make a Reverb Crash? That is the official. That was the first drink from that Tiki Central drink contest back in 2000.
Yes, correct.
Was it 2003?
The winner.
So
I've not had one in a long time. Maybe I should go make one.
Yeah, the recipe's on Tiki Central.
Excellent. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Hanford, the honor's all mine. Really,
yeah.
I appreciate.
I should say secret agent.
Yeah, you know what? I lost my title. It's not on there anymore.
Well, we'll go back on there and add it. All this wave of nostalgia is making me go back and check the site out more and goof around on there. So
that's awesome.
That
me
might
too.
Be changing soon.
Me too, man. So well, I appreciate you taking time out on your Sunday and talking to us on the podcast, and I appreciate it again. Everything. I appreciate Tiki Central. I appreciate your friendship. You're somebody that I would not have met if it weren't for Tiki Central, and I consider it an honor to have been your friend for almost 20 years now. I guess 20 years. We didn't meet 20 years ago, but we started chatting online 20 years ago. So
we can round up.
Let's round up. So
let's round up to 20 years.
Let's round it up to 20 years. I appreciate it all, but thank you again, Hanford, for being on the show with me, and more power to you and Tiki Central. We look forward to
the next 20 years.
More Tiki Central for the next 20 years.
Awesome. Mahalo, sir.
Mahalo to you too. Thank you, and I hope we talk again soon.
Definitely. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, I'd love that. All right, cheers.